Okay, I'm Mallory, and this is my interview for Canese 205 with someone who is in charge of the Spirit Squads at St. Leo Seton. And this is
Emily Como.
okay. Emily, determine who's responsible for your budget process and what policies are associated with budgetary decision making within your organization.
I am in charge of the Spirit organizations at St. Leo, so I do oversee the budgets. The policies range from year to year depending on what we need and what's prioritized for the different expenses we need to pay for.
Now, within your Spirit organizations, how many different teams do you have?
We have cheer, dance, and pep squad.
And they all have 3 separate budgets.
Right.
Okay. How often is y'all's budget revised, and what type of input as a budget manager do you collect from your department head or your coaches?
Our budget's revised every year since we don't have a specific season that we need to spend more money on. We cheer for so many different sports, and it's from year to year, and we sit down with all of the different heads of each Spirit organization, and we figure out who needs what, how much they're going to need for that certain year, and that's how we determine what our budget is.
Okay. Do all of your employees or coaches have access to the budget information? Why or why not?
No, we do not each have access to the budgets simply because we all run different organizations. No one can see the Spirit or cheer or dance budget, just like I couldn't see any of the other organization budgets at school.
But you oversee all 3 of them, but each individual coach cannot see, like cheer can't see dance and
right.
dance. Okay.
Right.
How are budget figures derived from year to year for you guys?
Well, since we do have a year-to-year revision of the budget, it just depends on what we need for each year.
Mm-hmm.
For example, 1 out of every 4 or so years, we will need to spend the majority of our budget on new uniforms. For the other few years, we can determine what we need, maybe a run through, maybe certain supplies, mats for the girls to practice tumbling on, different things that we'll need as the years go.
Okay. Ultimately, within your organization, who is accountable for your budgeting process?
Well, I'm accountable for the Spirit organizations. Over the Spirit organization, we have the athletic director who is overlooking the entire school's organizations. Above that person, we have the bookkeeper. So ultimately, the bookkeeper is in charge.
Okay. 3 most important facts associating with your budgeting process.
The first, obviously, since we don't have a huge budget, would be that whatever we spend money on is durable and it's more of an investment for us and we could use it for a long amount of time. The second is being that the parents are the biggest contributors to our budget, that they also approve of what we are doing and what we are buying with their money. And the third, obviously, is that it can benefit everyone from the squad.
Okay, and how do you communicate these tenets to the people in your organization, whether it be your parents or your athletes?
About the budget or what we
Yes.
buy?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things we do via email or we have parent meetings. Before we have tryouts, anyone who's a potential new cheerleader, their parents all get together. We have a meeting about the financial obligations that being a cheerleader comes with, paid what and what is left for their financial obligations to pay. That's an advantage because it keeps everything very, very organized.
Now, do you guys give them certain dates where everything has to be paid by to make sure you're guaranteed that money in your budget for your uniforms or equipment?
Yes. We have certain deadlines for certain things that need to be paid, and ultimately their child, who is the cheerleader, will suffer the disadvantage of that if the financial obligations are not met. They will have to sit out of a game or not be able to practice. So we don't really have that problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and lastly, do you guys use any certain technology, any certain software, or do you have, and if you do you have any problems using it, or?
Mostly our communication uses email. The one negative I would say about that is some people don't check their email in time, or word comes at the last minute, so we kind of rely on email, or we can call or text or those kind of things. But primarily we use email to get in contact with the parents, which, as I said, is a disadvantage that sometimes they don't check